Direct instruction was a model of teaching that began in the 60s, and it really is set up as I do it, we do it, and you do it. So the teacher does it, then the teacher leads the class in doing it together, and then students practice on their own. And this particular model was designed really to be efficient. It was designed so that you could do more in less time. So that's kind of the basis of where direct instruction came from in a nutshell. In direct instruction, the teacher very carefully guides students through the lesson and the learning, and it's focused on students understanding and learning very specific short-term objectives, and that's a very important part of understanding direct instruction, is that it is about specific short-term objectives. Now the lesson sequence basically goes like this: the teacher states the lesson objective and the lesson purpose. Then the teacher explains and demonstrates the content, and typically the teacher uses a lot of examples during this time to explain. And then the teacher gives a variety of opportunities for practice. So during this practicing time, the teacher is constantly supervising. And that supervision is really the key here to this model and making it work. Now, just because this includes explicit instruction does not mean that students are just passive listeners. This is not simply a case of lecturing for the majority of the class period and then moving straight into students doing some homework while they can have time to ask the teacher some questions before they leave the class. That's not direct instruction. Direct instruction lessons are teacher directed, but the students aren't just passive. The students are actively participating throughout the lesson. And the teachers provide feedback constantly when the students are practicing, because that's the whole point. They want the students to be able to practice accurately. And so the teacher must be constantly assessing and moving around and seeing how everybody's doing and giving feedback. So tweaking maybe some students who are close to getting it right, or checking to see the students who are way off track and need to be refocused. And remember that in the direct instruction approach, teachers present the information in very small steps, and then they have the students master each of those steps before they move on. Now, there are a lot of different uses for direct instruction lessons. They can be used to teach various content, especially content that is presented in steps or in small skills. Also, lessons that emphasize critical thinking and problem solving. So problem solving typically walks through a series of steps, and this is really good for that. But when planning a direct instruction lesson, the teacher has to pay particular attention to some key planning considerations. And the first of those is the content analysis. So the content analysis of a direct instruction lesson varies according to the content that the teacher is teaching and is presented and taught as part of the lesson body. The explanation part is where the teacher tells the students the information they need to know so that they can meet that lesson's objectives. And all of the information that's needed for understanding this knowledge or skill is presented through things like a very specific examples, definitions, even non-examples, and so on. The explanation part can occur before, during, or after the demonstration part of the lesson. Now, teachers need to provide a demonstration before, during, or after an explanation. So the two basic types of demonstrations are demonstration of a product and demonstration of a process. A skit or a role play can also be used to demonstrate a new skill. And during the demonstration portion, the teachers will typically give examples to students, or they'll walk through very specific steps that the students need to go to. But overall, it is very essential that they model the whole product or the whole process as well. So it's not just these small steps or these small parts of knowledge. It's also showing the whole process or the whole product. And then supervised practice is a real key to direct instruction. And this is when students have the opportunity to practice this new skill or work through their new knowledge. During this time, the students practice all of the steps, or they work with all of the information together. And during this time, the teacher must be giving corrective feedback. Must. The various levels of support that happen within a supervised practice, they can be whole group support, small group, partner support, individual supervised practice. So at this time, it may be that teachers work with small groups. They can work with individuals. They can break students into pairs and then work with those partners. Anything along those lines, but that supervised practice is very, very key to the whole model. And here's a image that helps hopefully get in your mind how independent practice and guided practice and different parts of direct instruction can work together. So as you see in the introduction, it sets the stage for the learning, and then you model that, and then you move pretty quickly into guided practice. Then you bring that information together in some type of closure, and then move to independent practice, and then evaluation. So that independent practice is happening outside of the classroom, and that evaluation is usually happening after that particular day's lesson. So what you want to make sure you have during that direct instruction are the first four components that's listed there: introduction, development, guided practice, and closure. And throughout this entire time, students are working through the steps, working through the content, and teachers are constantly giving direction and assessing and giving feedback. That is the key to it all. One particular resource for direct instruction is this website that is the National Institute for Direct Instruction, and that URL is nifdi.org. And on this, you can go to resources where they have free downloads. You can give information about what is direct instruction. You can break it into specific content areas, tips on how to be successful. But when you go to the resources, you can also, in the resources, see the different journals. So if you need scholarly resources that go along with it. But this might be a great video for you a great website for you to explore and see what resources it has in relationship to direct instruction for you.